Hey everyone! Hope we're live. Hi, I'm Donnielle, and I am with my good friend John Wheeler, who is a LPC. What's an LPC, John?
A licensed professional counselor.
Woohoo! So basically, he can mess with your head, and he has accreditation to do it. Which is honestly, you guys, one of the reasons I wanted to chat with you today, John, and about a big word that's been touted around a lot is gaslighting, right? And I know in my classes, in your classes, a lot of people ask us about manipulation because there's this
Yeah.
point of view that gaslighting and manipulation are the same thing. And so I thought, hey, let's get a licensed professional that can get into your head to really I want to talk about this a little bit. So, really briefly, what is the difference, or is there a difference between gaslighting and manipulation?
Yeah. So honestly, the biggest piece of this, gaslighting can be a form of manipulation, but not all manipulation is gaslighting. And this is where to me, the misinformation shows up a lot of the times is if someone says something to you like, oh, do you really think that? You're like, oh, they're gaslighting me. No, they could have just asked you a question. They could be manipulating you to try to get you to do something that they want you to do, but it's not necessarily gaslighting. So, gaslighting, from my perspective, is a systemic use of manipulation that usually results in a loss of self or a loss of you as a being or a loss of like what you know. It gets you to a place of doubt. It gets you to a place where you rely on that person for the information. It gets you to a place where you don't trust you with anything. It can get you to a place where your entire life is oriented around pleasing this person versus manipulation
Mhm.
generally doesn't leave you with a sense of doubt or not trusting you.
Okay.
Usually you walk away going, I really didn't want to do that. Why did I do that?
Mhm.
But that's very different than I have no choice. I must do this, which in gaslighting is very prevalent. Like that's a big part is with gaslighting, there is no choice. You will do what the person wants you to do, whether you like it or not, because if you don't, you won't like the consequence. And there's several things that we could go into even with what
Oh,
are the consequences of going against someone who gaslights.
well,
But
and that was going to be my question because that had a lot of energy onto it, is that we're afraid of the consequences.
yeah. Yeah.
And so, would you say a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So the biggest consequence that we see with gaslighting is what something that we call narcissistic rage.
Oh, fun!
Um,
That just sounds
yeah.
fun.
Does it make you feel good? Think about
Yeah.
it. But
No.
but basically what it looks like. So side note, not all narcissists are gaslighters, but generally
Hmm,
speaking, gaslighters tend to be narcissists.
interesting.
Um, but with narcissistic rage, the reason we call it narcissistic rage is because it's usually when you question someone about themselves or what they know and you make them feel inadequate. So a narcissist does not like to feel inadequate. They don't like to be challenged. They don't like to feel like you caught them off guard. They like to be in control. So if you challenge them in a way where you stand your ground, usually they'll lash out or they'll be really over the top angry. They may yell at you and it feels like basically you're being verbally whipped. Because what they're trying to do is to knock you back down, to make you small again, to gain back that control, gain back the power that they had over you. And so what you learn with this constant pattern, we call it a narcissistic abuse pattern, but with this continued pattern of you question them, you catch them feeling slightly insecure, they feel
Mhm.
shame, they feel upset, they feel insecure. In order to maintain and go the opposite, they fight you, they argue, they scream at you, they make you feel less. So then they gain back that control and they level back out. But if you consistently fight them, then it goes on and on and on and on. So eventually what happens is if you're someone who's at the effect of gaslighting, as they do this over and over, you'll give up because you'll start to move into
Ah,
avoiding
gotcha.
the abuse. You'll avoid the rage. You'll avoid upsetting them. You'll start to look at that reorientation. You
Mhm.
will reorient what you believe to be true or real to match theirs because that's easier. than
Wow.
the lashing out or the fighting.
And that's how you start to lose the sense of self, because
Right.
you're reorienting to not just making them upset.
Exactly.
Wow, that's and it's interesting because this is a big, heavy topic. I mean, I can perceive people as they listen to this going, ugh. But and I know secrecy is a part of this,
Hmm.
so maybe you'll talk about that a little bit, because it's like I know I can perceive a lot of people going, ah, I don't want and checking out, but it's like that's part of what how we do this to ourselves, right?
Yeah, and some of that can be effects. Like there's a lot of side effects of being gaslit or this consistent, again, difference between gaslighting and manipulation, the consistent manipulation, the constant nagging, the constant gnashing at your belief, the constant invalidation of you to squash you and squash you and squash you. So as that goes on and on and on, the secret part of it is like, what if you feel like, again, you have to please them, you can't leave, you can't get out, which a lot of times that's how it feels in abusive relationships, is you don't
Mhm.
have, again, you don't have choice. Your choice has been taken, quote unquote, taken off the table. I say quote because your choice can't really be taken away. Shh.
But we
but
believe that when we're
but you
being
believe it,
yeah.
and it's constantly reinforced by a
Ah,
gaslighter that you don't, because they'll tell you, if you leave me, I'll do this. If you leave me, this will happen. You'll have no one. No one will ever believe you, which is part of the tactics. One of them is isolation, getting you to cut off ties with other people so that when you leave them, you have no one. So what happens? You go back to the one person you have. They're the only one who loves you. So you get these things going on and on. And the secrecy part, or the avoidance part, generally speaking, is it can be really almost painful and also terrifying to actually be present with acknowledging that you've been gaslit or abused or any of those things. Like, these are one of the reasons why you have to have a lot of training, and you have to have a certain headspace working with things like gaslighting and abuse and narcissism and things like that. Is you have to be aware of how you interact with people and
yeah.
what's your stuff with it, because you can stick people. So a lot of it is moving through those places of like noticing when you want to run away or you don't want to look at it, and be willing to actually ask yourself, like, what am I running from? What is it I don't want to see here? Like, and that can be with anything in life, but specifically with this, like, look at what is your reaction to a topic like gaslighting or abuse? Is it that you want to look at it and get clear, or do you want to run? Do you want to avoid it and not look at it?
Mine was avoidance before I even knew what the word gaslighting was. And I just revealed to you a couple of days ago that in my mid-20s, I lived with a gentleman who I now perceive was a major gaslighter. He had me separate from my family, my friends, and thinking I was stupid. And it was malicious, but it was also so like sly,
Mm-hmm.
quietly
Very subtle.
getting, yeah. Yeah. So, but today we're talking, it's that's why I'm so glad that we're now talking about this here and in the media everywhere. Everybody's talking about it, which really excites me because the secrecy is going away. Um, and as we're talking about gaslighting manipulation, so you've given a lot of examples of like how people are gaslit. And so, but you also said at the beginning that manipulation could be generative. What kind of
Yeah.
example would that mean?
So I was knowing we scheduled this live and we were going to look at this topic. I
Yes.
actually this morning, in the shower, as you always do, the great ideas
The
come.
shower brilliance.
Yes, the shower brilliance, the shower gods showered me with
Rain
knowledge.
Town.
Yes. And I was going, okay, what's an example of like a positive way in which people use manipulation? And I kept going, well, there's this example, and I'm like, well, that's too extreme. Or there's this example, I'm like, well, that could be taken the wrong way on a public live without context. And so the one that really popped, and I went, oh, because we don't call it manipulation, is like, think of a hostage situation.
Mhm.
In hostage situations, there's usually a gunman who's holding a group of people at gunpoint, or one person at gunpoint. And they have these specialized, most of them I think are behavioral analysts or psychiatrists or psychologists. They call them
Hostage negotiator.
negotiators.
Yeah.
And I was looking at it going, oh, hostage negotiations are manipulations. Because what they're doing, they're not invalidating the gunman. They're not invalidating what they want or how they feel or what they're asking for. They're very clearly reorienting the person's head to consider the consequence of action.
Okay.
Like, if you go through with this, you're going to go to prison. You're going to ruin your family's lives. You'll never see your wife and children again. Like, these are things that they talk about. And, or like people, one of the heavier topics, people that are suicidal, talking people off a ledge.
Mm-hmm.
You're not telling them don't jump. You're asking them questions. How are you feeling? What's going on for you? I totally understand. In those cases, you're actually manipulating, but you're validating what's going on and what's real for that person. So again, difference in gaslighting versus manipulation. Manipulation in the form of validation is generative. Manipulation in the sense of seeing what's possible and what's available beyond what you currently think is possible. That is manipulation. It's not gaslighting. Gaslighting, again, is the basis is on control.
Mm-hmm.
The basis is on eliminating that person's sense of self, their sense of knowledge, their sense of trust. And honestly, the biggest part with someone who's gaslighting is to get a supply.
To get a supply?
Yes. So often they don't feel adequate alone, or
Oh.
they're looking for something that they think others can give. And so having that relationship gives them a sense of fulfillment or a sense of fullness until you don't do it anymore. And so we see these cycles within
Okay.
these relationships where, okay, I love you, you're the greatest thing. You know, the relationship starts out wonderful. The first 2 months are amazing. They're great. They feel fulfilled. You feel fulfilled. Everything's going wonderful. Fast forward, you know, maybe it stops being a little lovely. Now they're spending less time with you. They're talking to other people. They start to tell you how you're stupid. You're
Mm-hmm.
messed up. You're the problem. Don't you see how crazy you make me? And we call that devaluing. And then we move into what's called discarding, which could be they literally leave you and they in the relationship. It could be that they cheat on you or go create other relationships while they're in one with you, you know, infidelity. And then oftentimes, if that new relationship works, they go on and they leave you. If it doesn't work, then we have this lovely thing we call hoovering, which I just think is funny because it's based on like the Hoover vacuum. And it's literally what they do. They suck you back in. So they might suck you back in again by telling you love bombing, how much they need you. They didn't mean it. They didn't mean to leave you. They didn't realize what they had before they left. And all these can be really strong signs of gaslighting, all these red flags. You know, I can't live without you. I didn't realize what I had until everything was gone. And then if you're finding yourself in these situations, I think that's where the other things that I have, like I have a class called Shutting Off the Gas to Gaslighting. And that's part of the motivation for those workshops and discussions is how do you get to a point now where you aren't at the effect and you aren't able to be gaslit? Like how do we break the cycle of being gaslit over and over and over and continuing these types of relationships and these types of conversations so that maybe it's not necessarily stopping the gaslighting because it does still occur, but now you're aware of it. And so now you have a little more control because you're aware.
And I love your shutting off the gas to gaslighting class, and I love your where you come from with that because it's actually helping us to be aware of the gaslighting, not shutting off our awareness to it, but know it's out there, but being able to recognize it so that we have choice, which you've said a lot about. It's true gaslighting is about no choice, no choice, no choice. And so that we have choice in all things, including like, oh, you're trying to gaslight me, ha ha ha, not being the effect of it,
Right.
which I just really love. And I know you have a class coming up, and I want to talk about that. But while I get that information, it's like, what is one quick tool you could share with people right now to help them recognize it, not be the effect, take that first step, anything
Yeah.
like that?
Well, and I'll start with this one, which I really we'll get more into in the upcoming class at the end of
Mhm.
the
Yeah,
end
because
of April.
we're already over time, so it's just like
I
quick
know.
little
I'm like,
nuggets.
quick, spit it out. But the thing that I would invite you to do is look at how you react to people that are gaslighting or even manipulating you. But when people are engaging and interacting with you in a way that you feel is causing you self-doubt, or they are trying to control you, the way that they get that control in those moments is when you react back. And I recently was in a seminar, and this lady said it in a way that was just brilliant, which was the moment that you react, you are no longer able to be an observer in the situation, and you are now a part of it, which means you are sucked in. And you usually in those moments are so reactive and so emotional that you stop being aware of the situation at hand, and which means you now no longer have control because you're just going to go along with the punches. They've got you right. It's like almost like a mousetrap. You smell the cheese and you get a little closer. Then the moment you touch the cheese, snap. You can't get out. So it's looking at those places where they try to pull you in. They try to get a reaction out of you. And the biggest thing you can do to shut it off is not react. Don't give them the reaction they're looking for. You can ask them questions. If you don't feel like that's safe or comfortable, you don't have to do that either, but you can just be there present. You can watch them have their rage. You can watch them be angry. You can even respond to them. Oh, I'm so sorry I make you angry. I'm so sorry that I upset you. You can say those things. You don't have
without
to mean
believing
them.
it.
Exactly. You don't have to mean it. You don't have to believe it. But that's where you get to be present and you get to have control in a situation, because you're willing to know what it is that person requires because you're being present in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So my one tool would be that don't react in situations where people want you to react. Stay present with you and what you know.
So in this, stay present, like, do you want to, like, because sometimes I know for me it takes practice to not react. So would it be, I've heard of, and this is very this reality, like counting or take a deep breath or anything like that. It's like what tool can you suggest in that millisecond to be able to have control in that situation?
Well, I can speak what helps me personally, which is in those situations where someone's really reacting, there's two pieces to it. The first one is I don't say anything.
Okay.
Like I've just learned this lovely thing called be quiet. And the second part of it is I get really present with my body and my, like, literally how I'm feeling. Like, it's almost like you put all your focus into you're still receiving information, everything around is still taking place, but you're so present with your body that your body almost feels solid or like a rock. Like,
okay.
You're very aware, like a tree with its roots, and then being silent, take in the information. It's almost like tuning into yourself and letting the information come in, because if you're present in those moments and you're listening, you're observing, again, that observation, you're hearing what's going on, then they're giving you the information of what needs to be said, what needs to happen, where you need to go, whether or not you're safe. If you really listen to what someone says and you pay attention to how they say it and what's going on, it gives you a whole lot of that's basically what therapy is, but it gives you a whole lot of information about where that person is in that moment and where they're functioning from. So I think Donnielle's video froze on us. Come back, Donnielle.
Hi.
That was funny. It froze for a second. I think I was like, is she still there? She's so present she can't move.
Yes, I'm not reacting at frozen. But and I did hear what you were saying mostly. And I think that's really cool, because I know something I do and other people do is we do feel that immediate need to talk, to soothe things out. So with your suggestion of not talking so you can hear, I think that's brilliant. I think it's absolutely brilliant. Because we do that of like, well, let me talk and let me calm it down and okay, what can it?
Yeah. Let me take immediate action and fix it.
Yeah,
and you think
exactly.
that's control, but that's actually reaction. You're not taking any action. You're reacting to what's going on.
Love it.
Which is a huge conversation.
Yes. Yes, it is. And I'm so glad. So it's like, and I put in the chat, The dates of your call, shutting off the gas to gaslighting. So it's truly, and like I said, I love your take on this of like actually being present with yourself so you're not the effect of it anymore, which I love. That's what he means, like shutting off the gas. Like, whoop, you can't light
Exactly.
me up. Ha 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 ha. And so tell me a little bit about the structure of the class because I know it's a 4-part call,
Yeah.
2 and
I'm
2.
doing this one a little different. So this will be my
Excellent.
second time facilitating the full shebang. And previously we did like 2 3-hour days or something, or 4-hour days, and it was lovely. And I got a lot of feedback about having the break in between, because you could take away what was there that day and process and roll it over, and then come back the next day with a fresh head, fresh eyes. So with that in mind, this next one, we're doing it as a telecall series. So it's going to be 4 calls, anywhere from probably an hour to an hour and a half, depending on the people and the discussions, on April 27th and 28th. And then we'll have a week of living, of going out and interacting with the world, and then come back and do it again May 4th and May 5th. And so the idea, from my perspective, is we get on, we hash out a bit. What is gaslighting? What's it look like? What are examples? How do we see it? Start getting present with the energy. Go out and live your life for a week, and then come back and process what sort of things are you noticing? What sort of things are changing? And I'm sure there'll be more information. And I will tell you, the more that I'm looking at it, the more and more things are showing up about gaslighting and narcissism. Like, I've bought more books and I'm researching from all over the place.
And we're so grateful you're researching it so you can
Yes.
actually explain to us the information in a way we can hear it. So I'm so grateful you're the one doing that. And I'm also really glad that you're doing this shutting off the gas to gaslighting in 2 parts, because I know from personal experience, we get so much good information and then we go, yeah. And then the next day we go, what? What was
Yeah.
that? And so I love that you're giving us the chance to have that information in our universe and then to come back and go, it's been a week. What happened?
Yeah.
This is this, or this came up, or I reacted this way, or whatnot. So I'm grateful that you're doing it, the 2 parts, like the screen says, April 27th, 28th, and then May 4th and 5th, which is a week apart. So,
Yeah.
and then you go to, it's in the comments on both YouTube and Facebook, but johnwheeler.com/gaslighting telecall. So I'm really excited. So thank you for taking the time. I know we took a little bit longer, but just gives you an indication, everybody, how big of a topic this is,
Exactly. The breadth and depth of what I can speak to.
right? It's just this is literally just a teaser. It's like a sprinkle, like those little sprinkles on a sundae. It's just a little sprinkle because it is such a big thing. And I've always loved, if anybody's ever taken a class from me, they know I love manipulation, because we manipulate energy and you manipulate bodies when you heal it or lose weight or anything like that. So I'm so excited to be able to have you speak to the difference in gaslight and manipulation, because manipulation can be generative, like you've said, but gaslighting is no bueno, right? No good.
Right.
You lose your sense of self. And so that's why I love your take on this shutting off the gas to gaslighting. So you can't be lit up when a gaslighter tries to light you up. You're like, haha, no gas here. You can't make me explode. So I really love
Exactly.
I really love your take on that. So I'm excited. I'm excited for this class. I'll be there. I'll be present. So you guys, please do come join. If this is intriguing you, because like I said, it is a big buzzword with gaslighting. There's such a difference between gaslighting and manipulation. How you can use it, can't even use the word right now. Manipulation for creating your life, whereas gaslighting is trying to destroy your life. So I hope you guys join us. So shutting off the gas to gaslighting, 4-part telecall, April 27th, 28th, and then May 4th and 5th. Same call, 2 different parts. And you can go to johnwheeler.com/gaslighting telecall to sign up. And so you can ask all of your questions to John. Woohoo! And he'll research. Like I said, I'm so grateful that you're researching so that you can actually tell it to us how we can hear it, us lay
Yeah.
people who don't read the psychological text. So thank you for
Yay.
that. thank you for joining me today, John. I'm so grateful.
Thanks for having me on. Every time I'm laughing at myself because it's such a big topic and,
Yes.
not one that's usually joyful and happy. And I'm like, I've smiled this whole life. I'm one of those weird people. Somehow this conversation gets me excited. I'm like, yeah, let's go.
And you know what? And that is such a gift to us who is taking this class from you, because it's like you're making it insurmountable, making it possible to change it. You're making it so that we can not make it solid, but have light to it again, and not make it something that is unchangeable. Because I know a lot of people, like you said, they think they have no choice, and it's like, I can't get out. And you're like, sure you can. Watch this.
Right.
So I'm so grateful for that. All right, so we are gonna go. People are saying thank you.
You're
And
welcome.
yeah, so all right, everyone, fly be free, have a good time, and hope to see you on the class. And until I get to play with you guys again, be aware, ask questions, and have fun. All right, thanks everyone. Thank you, John.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.